So I'm doing a tutorial on just some basic shapes, so this would be ideal for you to watch if this is your first time playing with magnets. I'm assuming that you'll start off just a blob, because that's the easiest thing to make. The first thing you'd want to do is try to organize a blob into a string, just by kind of just picking out little bits and sticking them together. They'll naturally try to form a string, you just have to separate them into small enough parts. Strings are how you create anything in magnets, so get used to, converting blobs to strings. Once you create a string, you don't want to ever, shorten it. So if there's a string and you create, make stuff this way, you don't ever want to flip it, because that's going to mess you up. You always want to keep the string in one, essentially one continuous string, and just keep working off that, and never, flip to the other end. Always just keep working on one end. Otherwise, your polarity will be kind of messed up. So easy things to make would be, say, a ring. They could be any size you want. They could be bigger, smaller, any size you want. Generally, you work with smaller size rings, and then you just kind of build up from there. Just to show you also another thing about polarity, I almost forgot. There are two ways of binding things. If you put the same polarity next to each other in the same direction, you'll get something that looks like a zipper. It's a staggered bond. While if you just bend it and have opposing polarity, you'll get just parallel bonds. Good to know for whenever you're building stuff. Let's see. So some easy things you can make are a cylinder. You just make a ring of any size and carefully add another layer on top. You don't want to end up with something that looks like that, so you need to pinch off the extra magnet to make sure it's round before adding more onto it. You also don't want something that looks like that. If you have something that looks like that, that's a coil. The nice thing about coils is that you can just pull it and it'll uncoil the whole way without any effort. But they're not always the best for building things. I just use them kind of for storing things. So anyways, if you wanted to build a cylinder with any amount of magnets, you'd just add on after you make that. Yeah, it went a little fast there. Get used to converting your blobs to strings again. Make sure you put the alignment for the string correctly. You don't want to flip it around. So you just keep adding layers. It kind of wants to even roll itself on. And then you have the cylinder. If you wanted to make a smaller one, then you just start with a smaller ring. The other kind of cylinder you can make, it's more than one, would be the parallel cylinder. The one you just saw would be a staggered cylinder. So to make a parallel cylinder, just fixing my blob here. Okay, to make a parallel cylinder, you'd make a cylinder of any size, a ring of any size, and then you oppose it and turn it back the other way. You have to keep flip-flopping back and forth instead of just kind of layering it on. And then what you end up with, when you've added a few layers on, it's a different cylinder. You can make it smaller, bigger, whatever size you want. Again, you have also a card that could be really helpful for separating things if you felt like it. So you can separate your one big cylinder into two smaller cylinders, and you could use them just to split stuff. Really useful. Don't lose it. Okay, so now going to slightly harder stuff. That was essentially the easy stuff. Basic geometry. So magnets tend to follow one shape, and that's the hexagon. You can squeeze them in other shapes, but the most basic, or at least the flattest shape, would be hexagon. So you start with a ring of 6. And then you just carefully layered it around. and then you have a little hexagon here. And then if you want to make it bigger, you can just add on another layer, and you can go as long as you want. And pretty soon you can have some, particularly massive cylinder. You can also unwind them with time and skill. You can also make pentagons. You can actually make any size shape, any shape, depending on whatever number of magnets you start out with. But I'm just going to show you the easy ones here, which is hexagon and pentagon. And then the thing about the pentagon is that it's not flat. Only the hexagon is flat. If you go under, you can also make, like a square funnel. This is a pentagonal funnel. Square funnel, you just start with 4. It's trickier to pull off. You can even do 3. I think you can do 2. Yeah. And if you go up larger than 6, like 7, then you'll end up with kind of a saddle shape. Then something you can do with the pentagon is that if you make enough of them, you'll be able to make a ball. So you need to make, 12. You're making a dodecahedron. So notice what I'm doing here. I'm doing it kind of fast, but once I make the shape, you just put it down flat. You always make shapes the same way, so you won't mess up the polarity, because it's very easy to mess up the polarity. Okay, so I'll just do half a ball, but you could finish it. So you just stick them on together. The bonds, you're sticking them together parallel, but the pentagons themselves are staggered, but they're arranged parallel. If you're getting staggered bonds between the pentagons, try flipping them around, because that's backwards. So now you have half a ball. If you make another 6, you'll have a full ball. So that's just inside. Okay, the last shape I'll show you is a little trickier. It looks easy. It's not. It's a cube. So to make the cube, you need to arrange all 216 of your magnets into a single line. So, one single string. And then the first thing you do is make a hexagon, then another hexagon, and then holding this magnet here, so all the magnets after the one you're holding are, if the hexagon you just made, unroll it. You have exactly 36 here. So then you just fold it down, and then fold it up. You don't want to detach the chain, you're just folding it kind of back and forth here. So you just fold it, and if you counted out 36 magnets correctly, you'll get exactly this. Cube's really tough to make. I just messed up here a little bit, but I can kind of squeeze it back into the correct shape. Okay, yeah, cubes are really tricky to make, so don't be discouraged if you can't get it right on your first try or second try or fifth try. It's quite hard. Anyways, so now you have this thing, be careful of it. Parallel sheets like this, they're very easy to just collapse on themselves, like what just happened to me earlier. Okay, so anyways, next part for a cube, you count out 6 magnets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you just fold it. And this is, another place that things can screw up on you. Hopefully that doesn't happen to you. And then you just fold it again. And again. And then after a while you have a cube that might require a little bit of squeezing to get the shape down. But yeah, it's really unstable shape. You'd think cube is the strongest. It's not. You can just squeeze it and it'll crush very easily. So that's pretty much all the most basic shapes. There's really many ways to make a cube. I'm sure there's plenty of other ways to make them on YouTube if you want to look up various methods. Oh yeah, I'll show you one more thing. So when you make basic shapes, you can sometimes stack them. Like, say I made a hexagon here. I'll make another one. not only can you just connect them sideways, which will result in a parallel bond, you can also pick them up, and then you can make, like that's like two hexagons together. But the more you stick together, you realize you can make some fun stuff of it. You can also make three-dimensional shapes with them. If I made one more here, then I'd get another shape here. You can, so yeah, you could do this with pentagons. If you start making like the cubic, I don't know what the names are for stuff, but the funnel with four sides, or if you start making stuff with 7 sides, you can play with various stuff like this. You can also make triangles. You have 6 here, and then you have 9 by adding 3. You can just pinch in the sides. You have a triangle. If you connect a bunch of those together, you can make another kind of ball. If you connect 20 of them together, you can also make a ball. That's all I can think of right now. So yeah, those are some of the basic shapes you can make with magnets.